Welcome to Stop Doing Stupid Shit. You're at Data Minutes. I don't know what day it is, but it's actually June 11th. I'm Joey D'Antoni. I'm principal consultant at Denny Cherry and Associates, and I have a lot of accreditations with my name behind my name that begin with M: MVP, MBA, MC, MSc, blah blah blah. So it was just simpler to say M star and be done with it. If you want to find me on the internet so that you can yell at me, you can find me at Twitter at jdanton. My blog's joeydantoni.com. My blog also gets syndicated to dcac.com. And if you want to send hateful emails, send them to joey at dcac.com. The reason why I put together this presentation was because I'm sick of people doing stupid things that end up resulting in their business getting hacked or ransomwared or all the terrible things that can happen to you when you did some of these things. So I write a monthly column for Edmund Magazine, which isn't a magazine anymore. It's just a website. And I wrote this article in, I think, December or sometime late in 2019, because this was supposed to be my Grillen talk last year about things to stop doing so you don't get hacked. But the first slide I wanted to have is, do you even MFA, bro? If you don't, or your organization doesn't have MFA, or you don't have MFA in your bank account or any other critical personal security elements, MFA is like our number one weapon against fighting against hackers, because it involves a password that you know and something that you have. So a phone, or ideally you're not using SSMS or text messaging for using those, for getting those MFA codes. It's better if you can do it within an app, because that's more secure than using a phone. But if you don't have MFA enabled, or your company doesn't have MFA enabled, you're quickly on the road to getting hacked. If you can log into your production SQL servers without having been MFA'd, that's really bad, because you know what else can log into your production SQL servers without being MFA'd? The hacker who infected the CEO's laptop when the CEO tried to download a PDF of the new Taylor Swift album. All those things are bad. Ransomware happens all the time. So I just copied this from Google News yesterday. Here we see this new ransomware group claims to have breached over 30 organizations so far. This is happening more and more. It just happened to a meat packer last week. It happened to an oil pipeline in the US. It happened to Ireland's Department of Health. So like all the hospitals were down. And Ireland had people, military IT folks in the offices restoring Windows 7 PCs. Yes, I said Windows 7. That OS is old enough to drink, I think, at least in Ireland. So all these things are bad. Running old OSs, bad. Not having MFA, bad. Not having any network segmentation, bad. So let's talk about the data breach game. And I'd like to thank my editors for building this lovely graphic that talks about all the various ways people get breached. First being credential reuse. If you use one password across multiple websites, that's stupid. Stop doing it now. Password managers are your friend. I'm going to show you mine. Well, yeah, there we go. This is the password I use for all my demos. I'm happy to show it to you right now. Copy your screen real quick. There you go. There's my password. Good luck remembering that. Sorry. You should have unique passwords like that for each site. I barely even know what any of my passwords are. I couldn't tell you my bank account password if you put a gun to my head. It's like 60 characters and it's an indecipherable string. Your domain, your credentials for your service accounts, your credentials for SA, they should all be the same. And by the way, don't put them on Post-it notes on your laptop. That's also bad, or your monitor. Don't write them. If it's not painful to type your passwords, it's not secure enough. Next, service accounts being domain admin. I know Kerberos is hard to configure, and it's a pain to register those SPNs. And domain admins can always register SPNs, so why don't we just make our service account a domain admin? Guess what? Your SQL Server can do anything on your network. The number one way ransomware spreads across organizations is horizontal movement. So that means when the CEO downloads that PDF with the Taylor Swift album on it, that was actually a virus. that's going to sit on the network for a while and try to capture credentials. The golden goose there is a domain admin, because domain admin can do anything on the network. Once that happens, lateral movement takes place, and then your servers can start getting encrypted and the ransomware can take hold. Don't do that. Microsoft publishes nice guidelines about all the requirements for what your service accounts are required to be for a SQL server, and obviously other programs. Take advantage of that. The next one I've seen, port 1433 open to the internet. Denny and I were bored in the office one day and decided to open up a VM running SQL Server to the internet on Azure. And we both set the SA passwords to password just to see how long it took for us to be breached. Even if you set a hard SA password and you open 1433 to the internet, if you look in your log, your error log, as soon as you see this open, you will start to see failed SA login upon failed SA login. When you set your password to password, you can get your server breached in like 8 minutes. It's pretty awesome. Don't do that. Use network segmentation. Obviously, most people don't put 1433 on the internet, but it shouldn't be, your machine probably shouldn't be able to talk directly to your production SQL servers or your production domain controllers. That should be firewalled off and have smart access. Spear phishing, we mentioned this. Be careful with your email. Don't just click on random things. Don't click on anything from an unknown sender. It's dangerous. Public S3 bucket. It seems like every data breach I see involves somebody leaving private files on the internet in a public area where they can be easily accessed. Don't show anyone your privates. It's a good rule of thumb. Public MongoDB with no password. This is a really common data breach. Also, Elasticsearch, having either of these data stores with no password is an invitation to get hacked. SMB 1.0 was cool in like 2000, but it's not secure now. Don't do that. Just upgrade your stuff and patch everything. Patching's painful and incurs downtime. I can't tell you how important it is to do that. Storing private keys in your public GitHub repo. Good way to get your Amazon account, have your Amazon bill shoot way up, or your Azure bill. Be pretty careful about how you use private keys. Like I mentioned, safe phrase, never show anyone your privates. And then finally, the ever popular SQL injection attack. We all know the Little Bobby Tables cartoon. Sanitize your inputs, make sure everything's parameterized. SQL injection attacks still happen all the time. So to summarize this talk, just stop. Don't just write code to meet a quick deadline. I know there's always pressure, and security is always the last thing people think about, and they want to bolt it on at the end, and it just doesn't work well when you do that. Ask any company. Think through the design. Think about how you're going to secure your things. Take your time in doing design and building your code. You don't want to hard code that password. I know it's always tempting to set in a PowerShell script, set that variable to a password. You have Azure Key Vault, you have Azure Automation Storage, you have HashiCorp Vault. All these things can allow you to store things securely. And your code's way more secure when you do it that way. Yes, multi-factor authentication is a pain in the ass. All good security is a pain in the ass. When I was working at a large cloud provider, it took me 30 minutes to log into prod the first time. It got down to about 5, but it was still painful. Good security is hard, or security is hard, and good security is much harder. So in order to provide good security, you're going to have some effort. But having that effort is better than having your machines be ransomware and you can't operate your business. Have a good day. Rant over.